Nazley Sharif, and today is the IEC's final voter registration weekend and your final chance to register to vote. I am so excited to be in Gauteng, in my home province, on the ground with DA leaders, DA activists and members, helping everybody to get registered. The DA is on a mission to rescue South Africa, but we cannot do it without you. South Africa, your vote has never counted more, so make sure that you are registered to vote. Voting stations are open today and tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or skip the queue and get help registering online at check.da.org.za or simply dial *134 *20004#. If you prefer to send an email or a WhatsApp, the details will pop on the screen. Remember, the new law states that you can only vote where you are registered. Please like and share this broadcast with all your friends and your family using the hashtag RescueSA and hashtag #RegisterToVoteDA. I am now joined by the DA leader, John Steenhuisen. Hello, John.
Hello.
Welcome to Gauteng. It's so exciting to be here. You've been here for a couple of days. What is the feeling on the ground?
It's really great, but I tell you, the spirit here with our Eldos team is incredible. Really incredible. It's been great to be here. I've been in the south and now come to Eldorado Park. It's been very, very good. I think people are very positive. We had a great MPC event, which is showing very clearly to South Africans the path to a new majority. Path free of corruption, free of theft of public money, free of politicians who stopped caring about the people a long time ago, and a chance for a new start for South Africa that's going to include everybody in prosperity, opportunity and hope for the future.
John, I, for one, am so excited for the 2024 elections. Are you as excited as I am?
I am super, super excited because I can feel that there's change in there. I can feel that things are going to be moving in the right direction. And I look at the activism across the ground. I see the enthusiasm amongst voters who are desperate for change. They're tired of load shedding. They're tired of unemployment. They're tired of corruption. They're tired of having their water turned off for weeks on end. Parts of Eldos have been without water for weeks and weeks and weeks. Gauteng, not because there's no water, it's because there's just poor management of the infrastructure. So I see people are they desperate for change, but they're also hopeful that it's going to be positive change that's going to change their lives, and not only their lives, the lives of their children and their grandchildren as well.
John, the question on everybody's mind is a new national government reachable? Have we come to the point where South Africans are simply saying enough is enough?
Absolutely. As I've said, everyone is sick to their back teeth with the failures of this government. Everybody is sick and tired of all of the things that are dragging us down. They want change, they want something. And we've got the best chance to do this now. For the first time in 30 years, the election outcome, the first time in 30 years, we get a chance to kick the ANC out and bring in a new government. All of the polling shows that the ANC is falling way below 50%, and that gives us a chance. With the multi-party charter, with a strong DA anchoring a potential new government, we have the best pot. With only 16 or 17% that separates the multi-party charter parties from a majority. Now, if people come out and register, particularly those 14 million people who are not registered to vote. If even just 10% of you get up today and come out, we can have a new majority after the May election that will start a government that's going to work for you and not for the politicians. So if you're sitting at home, I just want to say this to you. In this election, there's too much at stake to stay at home. You need to come out and register to vote, because the power to change the country lies with the registered. If you're not registered, come out to vote. And you've heard already, you can do it. You can do it online. It's quick and easy. But if it was me, I'd come out to meet our cheerful team in Eldos today and come and register. Why would you not want to be around? Why would you not want to be around our great team here? It's always better where the DA is. So come out and meet our people. There'll be friendly DA agents at your voting station. Come in and meet us. Check your registration status. Re-register if you're incorrectly registered. And if you're not in the voters roll, become the hero. You become the hero in the story that's going to change South Africa.
Make a difference.
John, you were just speaking about the multi-party charter. For those who don't know what's happening, can you give us an update for everybody at home?
Sure, the multi-party charter is a group of 11 opposition parties that have come together and said, we're going to stop fighting with each other. We're going to focus on taking the fight to unseating the ANC, but not just working against the ANC, offering South Africans an alternative to them. We've already launched as a multi-party charter our joint economic development policy, how we're going to get people into jobs, how we're going to get a government that's creating a capable state that is able to deliver on an economy that's growing, getting our ports working. We're going to be unleashing policies on crime and all of these things, which will set out very clearly to people that these 11 parties, should we get a majority after the election, are going to be working from day one for you on the ground.
Yeah.
Not like we see with Paul Mashatile for a small group of friends and family and the rest of them.
Yeah.
Not taking your money and giving it to our friends so that they can benefit, spending every cent of public money on you, the citizen of South Africa. So we're almost there. We're a few months away from a new government that's going to bring change, hope and prosperity across the country. Don't stay at home. Come out over the next 2 days. Make sure that you're registered to vote. Don't wake up with a babalas after this weekend and say, well, if only I'd registered. Make sure that you come out there. Let's all stand together as South Africans, because united we'll be able to change the country for the better.
John, I just want to stay a little bit longer on the multi-party charter. We've seen coalitions in Johannesburg that have collapsed. What makes this multi-party charter different?
What makes it different is that we are coming together long before the election. We started in April last year when I first announced what was then called the Moonshot Pact. That has now moved and it's become the multi-party charter. We've signed that document and we're ironing out all the differences. But the big difference between this group and Johannesburg is that in Johannesburg that people over-fragmented the vote. They voted for all these small Inyana parties that are one-man bands that only serve the leadership. They don't serve anybody else. And they've splintered the vote. 18 parties in Joburg, 11 of those parties got less than 1%. That is instability. That's why you need a strong anchor in a coalition. And that's where the DA sees its role as a strong anchor that can keep the coalition together and keep it moving forward and make sure that it stays intact and delivers to the people of South Africa. That's why we're telling people vote for the DA. We have got experience, we've got people, we've got policies, and we want to bring that to bear to save South Africa, to rescue the country and start building a better future.
John, I want you to please give a message to all the young people that are of age to vote, but they simply don't feel the need or they don't think it's necessary for them to come out this weekend to register and essentially for them to vote. What is your message for the millions of young people in South Africa?
There are too many young people who have given up on politics. They say that politics isn't interesting for them, that politics doesn't matter to them, that they're not interested in politics. And I want to say to you, if you're a young person, you may not be interested in politics, but it's very interested in you. It's politics that's keeping you out of a job. It's politics that's cutting off the NSFAS funding. It's politics that's cutting off your electricity and water. And if we don't fix the politics, we're never going to fix all of these problems. So you need to be involved. You need to make your voice heard. Don't let other generations make the decisions about your future. Make your voice heard loud and clear. And the best way to do that is to use your vote to be able to give you power. We can have an economy that's growing, that gives our graduates and young people jobs. We can have youth entrepreneurship being supported. We can take the money that is being wasted and given to comrades and friends being spent on bursaries and opportunities for young people. You can have a government that's supporting your side hustle. You can have a government that's helping you grow your small business into a big business. And you can have that as a young person and so much more, but you're not going to have it with the ANC. You've got to change your vote. And you can only change your vote if you're registered to vote. So make sure that you're registered. There's too much at stake for the young people in South Africa if they don't vote. Don't let other generations determine your future. Get involved, make your voice heard, and make sure that you're staking your claim on our country and its future.
Well said.
John, can you tell everybody at home how they can get registered this weekend?
There's two ways you can do it. You can go right now. It'll literally take you 5 minutes. Check.da.org.za. That's check.da.org.za. vote.da.org.za. Or you can go to your nearest voting station. You'll be able to just nip down there. It's very quick and easy. There'll be DA-friendly people like our team in Aldo's waiting to help you out there today. They'll be able to give you some guidance. You go in with your barcoded ID book or your ID card into the voting station. They will make sure that you're registered. It is quick. It is painless. There are no queues. There's no excuse not to get out over the next 2 days and do it.
Yeah, just a reminder, that is check.da.org.za, or you can simply dial *134*20004#. John, we have a media briefing coming up shortly with some of the DA's top leadership. Can you tell us what we can expect and why is it important?
Well, we obviously want to give you a briefing about where we're at in the campaign and to let you know how much hope there is out there for a change in the country. Our leadership are going to take you through some of the statistics around what we've been doing, what's being put into this registration campaign, but we'll also re-emphasize how absolutely important it is for every South African to now be part of the mission to rescue South Africa.
There we go. There you have it, South Africa. DA leader John Steenhuisen telling you why it's so important to get out there and make sure that you are registered to vote. Again, I cannot stress this enough. The new law says you can only vote where you are registered. So make sure that you are correctly registered, or else you cannot assist and you cannot be part of the change when the DA wins in 2024. We are also joined by DA Premier candidate for Gauteng, Mr. Salim Simanga. Hello, Sali.
Good morning, Nazley.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very, very well. I mean, you can see the electricity that is here. We've been moving around. You know, we are now in Eldos. We've been to the south. It's electric. People are excited, and we need to get that excitement out. I've always said that uzoithola kanjani ungaregister. So get out registered. That's the only way that you can change, the fortunes of South Africa for the better.
Sali, can you tell us what does a DA Gauteng look like under your premiership?
Well, a DA in Gauteng looks like more police on the ground, looks like more health workers, doing their jobs, and not hospitals that are being closed, like what I say in Johan Haynes yesterday. It looks like a Winterveld and a Juke Lane that has more police that are going to deal with the issues there. It looks like an El Dorado Park. It looks like a Rivali that has a gang unit in the police that are able to tackle, the gangs there. It looks like a drug unit that is able to then ensure that we're able to then fight. It looks like a unit that is able to then deal with the zamazamas that are really raining havoc in our communities. It looks like a Johannesburg that is not exploding. It looks like a Tshwane that is able to then work with a government that really cares. It looks like Midval continuing to shine. It looks like education is working for the people, not this pop-up mushroom schools that are now coming up all over. It looks like children who are going to be able to then play in the parks, not what we're seeing here with the Baeza people that have promised the Lord and delivered very little. That's what we will be able to then do for the people of Gauteng.
I love that. Sali, what is your message to all the young people in Gauteng that is watching at home? It's still early in the morning. They have the whole day today and tomorrow to make sure that they are registered to vote.
You cannot go to a destination if you're not willing to buy a ticket. The only way you can get to your destination, the only way you can get into that plane and can get into that train is if you go and buy the ticket. The ticket is you registering so that we can get to the next destination. We've always been saying that we're going to make our 1994. Let's make sure that we're able to turn that nightmare that people have now come to live into a beautiful reality and a beautiful dream of 2024 and then going forward. Let's not allow the grass to burn any further. Because if we allow this country to burn any further, it will take a lot. It will take 2-3 other generations for us to be able to turn it around. Let's turn it while we still can. It's in your hands.
There you have it, South Africa. A message from DA leader John Steenhuisen and DA Gauteng incoming Premier Salim Simanga. We are now crossing over to the DA's media briefing, where we will get an update on what's happening this registration weekend, but also get an update on the latest polls.
Ikamva ikamva lethu lisezandleni zethu bantu baseMzantsi Afrika. This election is more than just a vote. It is our chance to reshape the future of South Africa. This is your moment to rescue South Africa from the ANC government's failures. If you are tired of the high cost of living, if you are tired of load shedding, of corruption and joblessness, then now is the time for you to rise up and make your voice heard by registering to vote to usher in a new government that will work for you. Join millions of South Africans who are on a mission to bring about real change, a mission to rescue South Africa. Simply visit check.da.org.za to check your registration status or get help registering online to vote. The last voter registration weekend is on the 3rd and the 4th of February. Make sure that you can make your mark. Together, we can rescue South Africa.
Get help registering to vote at check.da.org.za. Register to rescue South Africa.
Cool. You can take a seat. Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Malatsi. I'm the party's national spokesperson. I'd like to welcome all the members of the media who are with us here today and everyone who has joined through our social media platforms. We are joined for this press conference by the party's national campaigns manager, Krumbock, and also the Federal Council Chairperson, Helen Zille, who will take us through today's press briefing regarding where we are in terms of our preparation for this crucial registration period. So Greg will start off, Helen Zille will then do the wrap-up, and as is standard protocol, we'll take questions at the end. Over to you, Greg.
Thank you very much, Solly, and good morning to the members of the media. In a historic milestone, the Democratic Alliance proudly announces that for the first time, we have outperformed the ANC in new voter registrations and re-registrations. The most recent registration data highlights the DA's success in securing the largest share of new and re-registrations as follows. Between 23 November last year and the 5th of January last month, the IC recorded 162,598 new and re-registrations. 59,689 of these were for the DA, or nearly 37%. Only 33.8% were for the ANC. This success shows what is possible this weekend and indeed on election day. There is now a real opportunity to bring about change in our country. In the last 43 days, we have constantly outperformed the ANC in the registration campaign. Millions of South Africans may be unaware that a new law has changed voter registration rules for the upcoming election. For the first time, voters must cast their ballots at an exact voting station where they are registered. This means there is no option to vote at a different voting station on election day. Due to this new law, spending election day at a friend's or family's place and voting at the nearest station is no longer possible. There will be no provision on election day to vote at an alternative station, with no forms to fill out and no exceptions allowed. I'd like now to hand over to Helen.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you, Solly. Greg is running our election campaign as he has for every single election that I've ever been directly involved in the DP and now the DA. So I welcome you all to this very important press conference. Greg has told you the important news. And of course, we keep our fingers very closely on the pulse of statistics in the DA. We are data-driven, and everything we do is based on what the data is telling us. And the data is telling us that this can be an historic election, but that we cannot take it for granted for one single minute, because this election could literally turn on a single vote here and a single vote there. And it is for that reason that every single person who wishes to have a new government in South Africa to rescue our country needs to take personal responsibility now to get out there and do their bit. The point about a democracy is that you don't leave things to the politicians. You get the politicians you deserve because it's the politicians you voted for. And no political party is perfect, but there can be absolutely no doubt that one party knows how to govern, one party knows how to ensure that we grow jobs, which is the most important thing for South Africa, to get people into jobs and out of poverty. All the data tells you that, and that's the DA. We also know that many of the smaller parties get an opportunity to have high office through the ANC and take the votes they've got and hand them straight to the ANC, as we've just seen in Plettenberg Bay, which is an absolute tragedy for the B2 municipality, as they will now learn. This election has stakes that have never been higher. And in this historic moment, all the voters of South Africa need to understand that they may have hoped for a better life for the past 30 years, but now they really have to vote for one. And that is what this election is about. The stakes are much too high to stay home. The stakes are much too high not to bother to check whether you are registered or to go out and register where you plan to be voting. And you can only vote at the voting station where you are registered. And if you want to know, we've got a very simple method that avoids the bureaucracy of the IEC and every other hassle. You go to check.da.org.za. Our computer fundies have worked out a program that enables you to very quickly establish whether you're registered, and if so, where you are registered. And if you go and look on that site, check.da.org.za, you will immediately see where you are registered and if you are registered. And if you aren't registered, this is your last chance this weekend to register in person at the polling station at which you want to be voting in this year's election. And if you are registered at the wrong voting station, if you've moved or live in a different place or might be at a different place when the election comes, although we don't know exactly when that will be, just make sure you are registered at a place where you can vote. This is a simple responsibility that every single voter in a democracy needs to take very, very seriously indeed. We do owe it to the future. We don't want a situation where in the next generation you look back and say, we lost by a handful of votes, and I was part of that handful. We know how important one vote is. I certainly know. I was elected Mayor of Cape Town by one vote in the council. Chris Pappas also knows. He was elected as Mayor of Umgeni by one vote in his council. And we all know from the quarterfinals, the semi-finals and the finals of the recent Rugby World Cup what the power of 1 point is. It's exactly the same with a vote. We won the quarterfinals by 1 point, we won the semi-finals by 1 point, and we won the finals by 1 point. It's exactly the same with a vote. And Dricus du Plessis became world champion by one vote. Or by one, I don't know what they called in that sport, not my sport. But anyway, there was 1 point. Maybe not one vote, 1 point involved in that. The point is the power of one. That's the point. And every one single individual can make or break our country. That is the point of democracy. So we do urge people to take this responsibility seriously. The only thing that stands between South Africa and success is the apathetic voter. We need to go out and do our duty now. Thank you.
You can take that. Yeah. Thanks very much, Helen and Greg. So this will be an opportunity for the media for any questions that we might have. Please just stick to the standard protocol, introduce yourself, the media house you are representing, and ask your questions. So I'll start with those that are here today before we can take the online ones. I see Jason already has his hand up. Anyone else, so that we can take them all as a group and then proceed. Going in 3, 2, 1. Jason, you'll have the first shot, and then based on the response, we'll take the online questions.
Okay, thanks, Solly. Good morning, Helen and Greg. Helen, just a question maybe for you. How do you capitalize? How does the DA plan to capitalize on this new data, which shows that more of the registrations has now has gone to the DA, if I can put it that way, and how does that fit into the bigger picture of the multi-party charter, which is obviously still a big deal for the DA? And then maybe just to Greg, could you maybe just explain more on this provision that doesn't allow voters to vote at an alternative voting station? There is a press briefing with the IEC where we will, later today, we will also ask them about that, because we know that in every other general election, you could vote anywhere in the country. So if you could just please explain on that, either one of you, if that doesn't really matter. Thank you.
Cool, that's fine. And I think one of the other things that Helen and Greg can address is the glitches that we've been experiencing with the IEC so far this morning, and what we are doing to address some of those. So Helen, you go first.
Yes. The most important thing, Jason, in an election campaign is momentum. And we work very hard to build up that momentum. And what this completely new situation, where we out-register the ANC over a period of 6 weeks and more, is that it gives us enormous momentum. And it gives people the sense that we can do it. Their one vote actually is highly relevant. It makes a difference. The greatest enemy of an election and the greatest enemy of a democracy is people who think my vote isn't going to count. It's only 1 out of millions, so I don't really have to bother. I'd rather go to a braai or stay in bed or do what I need to do on the public holiday. And so we need to show people, and they need to see it through the data, that the individual registration does matter. It is the drop in the bucket that will get that bucket to overflow. So that is the critical point. That is how we will use it. And that is the message we need to get across to South Africans. Your voice is relevant. I was at a meeting yesterday of the F.W. de Klerk Foundation on the anniversary of F.W. de Klerk's famous speech in 1990. And somebody got up and said, if we want to have a constitutional democracy, and we're just ordinary people, we're not in the institutions of parliament or any constitutional institution, what do we do? And I just listened, and it dawned on me that the obvious thing for everybody to do is to go out and vote for the constitution you want to defend. And that people are still asking the question, what can I do, when people have the power in their hands coming up, is something that we have to address. And people have the power, their vote is relevant, and they must use it. The IC part, Greg would be better to answer than me.
Yeah, come through, Greg.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Jason. Very important one. So the law requires us to register where we are ordinarily resident. And in a local government election, you could be, for example, in your province, but not in your town. So if I lived in Maritzburg, for example, and I was registered in Maritzburg and I happened to be in Richards Bay, I would still get both my national and my provincial ballot, even though I wasn't voting at my place where I have registered, in my voting station in Maritzburg where I was registered. Even if I was out of the province, so let's say I was in Cape Town on election day, I wouldn't get my provincial ballot, but I would still get my national ballot. That is what happens, what did happen up until now in a national and provincial election, whereas in local government elections, you had to actually register and vote in the same place. And the effect of the law now is to say that it'll be like a local government election. So I, for example, am registered in Howick. I can only vote in Howick. I won't be able to go vote somewhere else in KZN and get both ballots. I won't be able to go to Gauteng and get my national ballot. I will lose my ballots. And for someone, for example, who's registered in the wrong voting district within their ward, it might be a 5-kilometre trip. But let's imagine someone, for example, who lives in Messina in the northern part of Limpopo and now is in Cape Town. They're not going to drive that distance to vote. So those voters are registered, but registered in the wrong province or the wrong town. In many of our bigger provinces, towns are very far apart. This law will affect them quite drastically, and therefore we are encouraging everybody to not only register if you never registered before, but indeed correct your registration and be registered exactly where you live, and that is where you will be on election day. I hope that answers the question. Okay, thanks.
Cool. We just have one question submitted online, Greg, and I think it's directed to you. This is regards to our performance in smaller provinces, particularly the Free State, based on what you said earlier. Before you get to it, is there any follow-up that you guys in the House have? No? Greg, the final one.
I don't understand. I haven't seen the online question.
Yeah, so is the question was submitted to us online.
Yeah.
It's regarding what's our performance in smaller provinces, particularly the Free State.
In registration?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our registration has been fairly consistent across the board. There's no province where we are struggling. And because we are one party with integrated systems, as you see in this federal head office, we're able to give the same support to every single province, and the methodology that we roll out and our offer to the voters, our service delivery successes, which we communicate to other provinces as well as the ones where those are occurring, all tend to create a tie that lifts all boats. And therefore, in fact, Free State is probably performing slightly above the DA average, but generally speaking, it's fairly consistent across the DA, across all 9 provinces, in terms of the registrations and the re-registrations we are managing to obtain. And as we said this morning, for the first time ever in the history of our party, for a fairly long period of time, covering over 163,000 voters, we've actually had the most registrations. And that would include the Free State as well. Okay.
Thanks very much, Greg. We've kept that short and crisp to the point. Thank you very much to the media for coming through and joining us on this presser. We understand you've got other stops that you need to make today. If any of you have one-on-one requests, both Helen and Greg will be behind for a few minutes to do those. And we'd like to thank everyone who joined on our social media platforms. Thank you very much.
South Africa, our country is at a crossroads, and you have the power to help rescue it. We are at a critical point in history, and now, more than ever, we have the final chance to break free from a national government led by crooks and elect a new, caring government. We can end load shedding, we can reduce crime, and we can beat poverty. The key to rescuing our country is to ensure that you're correctly registered to vote in this year's election. The 3rd and 4th of February is the IEC's final voter registration weekend and your last chance to register correctly. So visit check.da.org.za to check your registration status or to get help registering online now. It's in your hands to vote out corruption and usher in a new era for our beautiful nation. The DA is the only party with a proven track record of delivery. Where we govern, unemployment is the lowest, and we do not tolerate corruption. Together, we can all shape a better future. So register to vote, and let's rescue South Africa. Power to the register.
Get help registering to vote at check.da.org.za. Register to rescue South Africa.
Thanks for watching. All across our beautiful country, people are joining forces to elect the new government that can rescue South Africa. Help our rescue mission and register to vote. Get help registering online now at check.da.org.za. Let's rescue South Africa.